everybody, and welcome to The Void, a show dedicated to filling the void between being an employee and becoming self-employed. Most people refer to starting your own company as taking the leap, as if they're blindly jumping off a cliff and into the unknown. This show is here to help you understand that it doesn't have to be that way. With a few very calculated steps, you too could be on your way to self-employment. As always, if you like what you're hearing on the show, please do us a favor and help share The Void with somebody else who might also be wanting to start their own business. We saw an opportunity to help others understand that self-employment is well within your reach, and just as our businesses have grown by word of mouth, we want this show to grow the same way. So do us a favor and help share the show. I'm your host, Mitch Smedley, and with me as always is David Hilton.
Does it smell like cat piss in here to you?
Oh, you would open with that, wouldn't you? Hey, look, there's a cat. Yeah. So
I'm just busting your balls.
So as we're filming this,
do you have a tough day today, Mitch?
Recording this, yeah. So it's November 1st as we're recording this. You guys will this episode will probably drop on November 3rd. But
So
go ahead.
Vote next Tuesday, people.
Yeah,
because we won't,
Yeah, by the time this show airs, it'll be your last show before it's time to go vote. So go do your duty.
Yeah, and if you don't vote, if you're going to vote Democrat, don't go.
Democrats vote next Thursday.
Yeah. Oh shit, we need 10,000 extras. Oh, we better get our shit filled out.
Yeah.
So just don't go vote. If you're going to vote Democrat, just don't vote.
So yeah, today's Family First Day.
Yeah, have a couple of gummies, play your Xbox, just, do some stuff that slows the world down.
Yeah.
Yeah, just do everybody a favor. Asshats.
Don't contribute to society in the slightest, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Keep not contributing to society.
Yeah. So today's first day of the month, and for those that are newer listeners to the show or those that may not know, in our plumbing company, we dedicate the first business day of the month to finding people in the community who have necessary plumbing repair needs and no way to afford them, and we spend the day making those repairs. Most of the time, it's an amazing day. Today,
I count my money on the first of the month.
Yeah.
Mitch is a much better person than I am when it comes to community involvement.
Well, days like today make me question that sometimes. Yeah. So,
what the fuck is your dog doing?
I don't know.
Gunner, get out of here, bro.
He's sniffing Austin's 18 weeks worth of trash in the trash can, but he's never a trash snooper. I think he's just begging for a pet. I'm not going to pet him because he'll never leave.
Yeah, he'll never leave. He'll go.
He's just trolling around.
Looking for a fucking handout.
Yeah.
Speaking of Democrats.
So
what happened today, Mitch? He's been all upset.
We had 3 service calls on my board today for Family First work. We actually had 4. I did one of them yesterday. And the one of them yesterday was very warranted and needed and everything else. But so the first one I go to today, this lady has a laundry list of repairs for me to make, and it already seems a little odd from her list of repairs. Her list of repairs included, like, installing a new clawfoot tub, and installing my new toilet, and, oh, by the way, something's wrong with our sump pump, there's quite a bit of water in the basement, and all of this kind of stuff. And so I'm navigating through all of that. Every single one of these that we go into, we kind of have to double check and make sure that we really should be there and all of this stuff. And so I find out very early on that she doesn't own the place. She's renting it.
And if you're renting, your landlord should be paying for all those repairs.
Right. Yeah. And so our program is not like Extreme Home Makeover. We're not going to go in and remodel your bathroom or anything else. It's performing necessary plumbing repairs, right?
Yeah.
But it's for homeowners. If you're a renter, your landlord should be performing those necessary plumbing repairs. That's what you pay for with your rent, right?
Right, 100%.
So I come to find out, like, I get to learn that she mentioned the landlord, and I'm like, oh, so you rent this place? And she goes, yeah. And I'm like, oh, well, so we really can't make any repairs here because you rent, and we have to be working with the homeowner. And she's like, well, I can get my landlord on the phone. And I'm like, I'd prefer you don't, because I wouldn't have too many nice things to say about him. By this time, I had found out that she hasn't had water in quite some time. because there's too many leaks in the basement. If you turn it on, it just sprays everywhere in the basement. The basement's got like 3 feet of water in it. The water heater's underwater. The furnace and air conditioner are underwater. There's like a pile of old sump pumps off in the corner. None of them are hooked up to anything. And she's also mentioned that she can no longer even stay the night there because they were starting to get sick. And I'm like, well, yeah, it's because you're sleeping on top of a pond.
Yeah, you got black mold probably.
Yeah.
Growing in the basement.
So I'm like, you really, like, a couple of things. Your landlord needs to be taking care of this. And she goes, well, he doesn't make repairs, and we have this agreement where I'm allowed to make repairs. And I'm like, so why are you paying rent if you're also having to make repairs on the place?
Yeah.
And she just didn't, like, she was so naive. I don't want to say anything bad about her because I don't think she has bad intentions.
She's just naive.
She is insanely naive.
Yeah.
So I had to, during these calls, I mean, I kind of set aside 2 hours for each one of these calls, right? So I realized real quick, I'm not making plumbing repairs here, but I've committed 2 hours to trying to help this person out, so I'm going to talk with him for 2 hours. So I chatted with her for 2.5 hours. Again,
Mitch is so much nicer than me. I'm thinking, now I have 2 hours till my next call. I'm getting out of here. I'm going to Waffle House. I'm getting some eggs and some hash browns. I'm getting some breakfast, and then on to the next one.
Yeah, so like all this stuff starts coming out. She was married. She technically still is married. She had 2 kids, and then she just had a 3rd kid. Her husband left her like the day after she found out she was pregnant with the 3rd kid. And husband's got a good job, but he's not paying her hardly anything in child support and, how all that stuff goes. But
let me ask you a question. You said earlier that she was like defending the landlord. Was she defending the husband too? I know this is a little off topic,
so the way that her personality was working is she was chastising the husband whenever it came time to explaining how she ended up in the situation she's in.
Yeah.
But then she would defend the husband so basically after 2.5 hours of being there, I was like not holding back any kind of advice I was giving her, right? So I was being pretty blunt with a lot of the stuff I was telling her, right? And so when I would tell her something that her husband had previously told her, then she would start almost kind of not quite defending him, but it's like she was
he says that too.
It's like she was flip-flopping around just to stay in the position of struggle. And anytime anybody gave her any advice that was in the direction of like, here's how you get out of all these problems, she would flip-flop it around and then try to stay in the direction of struggle. So like, she's destitute. She has no money. She makes $900 a month. So she's living off of less than $12,000 a year. Okay? She has 3 kids.
I drink more beer than that.
Right. She has 3 kids. She's living off less than $1,200 or $12,000 a year. Before I came over, she had convinced herself that we would have no problems installing anything that she had for us. So she went and on credit spent like $3,000 on a new bathtub, a new toilet, a new vanity, like all new bathroom stuff.
So she's remodeling this house that she's paying to rent for this loser who won't repair anything in the house.
Meanwhile, she has 3 feet of water in her basement. She has no water, no gas, no hot water.
Yeah, because they've red tagged everything, I'm sure.
But the important thing to her was a clawfoot tub. Like, some of these people, I just don't quite understand it. And so I spent 2.5 hours talking with her and like, I told her, I'm like, I feel like there's more to the story. Like, you're really, really passionate about staying in this house where this landlord is taking advantage of you. And come to find out, she brought out some other things where she's saying that she feels called by God to sell Bibles out of that house. And whatever she has to do to make that happen, she's going to do. And so I'm like, okay, well, so you're wanting to start a business. And she's like, yeah. Well, ironically, me and a friend have a podcast about starting a business, right?
Did you tell her to listen to it?
Oh, yeah. I gave her the link and all that stuff. She'll probably listen to this show.
Maybe you should listen to episode 1 through 9.
Yeah. So we started talking about some of the things that we reference in the show. And the first thing we talked about was getting your personal finances in order. And you can't even think about being successful in business unless your personal finances are in order. And she's like, she kept bouncing back and forth. And I said, so like right now you're bringing home $900 a month. That's not enough. Like, how are you going to be successful in business unless you can find ways without a business, unless you can find ways to support your family and find a good, safe place to live and everything else? And so we would kind of dive in on that subject, and then she would flip-flop it back over to, well, I'm feeling called by God to sell Bibles, and this is part of that plan. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure it's not. I don't think God would say that you're supposed to get taken advantage of by a deadbeat landlord that's overcharging you for a house that the health department would condemn immediately. Yeah. He's refusing to make repairs. He's trying to make you pay for them. Meanwhile, you're spending, like she said, she's spending $500 a month rent to live there. I'm like, well, you can't even live here because you're getting sick from all the water. So you're literally spending $500 on a storage unit. Well, there's a storage unit right down the road for $100. So you could save $400 a month. She's been living with another, I think it's her aunt. She's been living with somebody else because they were getting sick. I said, you could literally save $400 a month by literally moving all this stuff to the storage unit and never pay your landlord another dime. He's not going to come after you. Like, what's he going to do? Say you didn't pay rent on the house that was uninhabitable?
You go to court, and then you show the pictures to the judge, and the judge is like, dude, fuck you.
Yeah. Could she, like, call in the health department and, like, go that approach?
Yeah, but she would just be would be condemned, and she'd have to get everything out of there.
Yeah.
That's what they do. They would tag the door, and no one would be allowed in there until any repairs were made.
Yeah, okay. You'd be allowed under supervised conditions to get all your stuff out, but that's about it.
Yeah.
So, but again, like, so that's where she would start to go defendant of the landlord. When I would like really start pushing to like get out of this situation, she would go really defending of the landlord. And well, I'm feeling called by God to be here, and even if he's standing in my way, that's just another hurdle I'm going to have to overcome. And I'm like,
no.
I really don't think, for one, God's going to call you to live in an uninhabitable house and be taken advantage of by a landlord who's literally using your affinity towards God to take advantage of you. But then on top of that, make you live in a house with 3 feet of water in the basement that needs hundreds of thousands of dollars in repair and sell Bibles out of here. Like, and she said, well, you know, the Lord's going to challenge you whenever he wants you to learn something. And I'm like, yeah, the challenge is recognizing this is a bad situation and getting out of it. It's not continuing to drive
or it's putting
farther.
Or putting people in your life to help you get out of that situation.
Yeah.
And also, like, on a side note, too, this is what happens when you have no spiritual accountability or a pastor, any sort of person to help you along the way. To just, like, if you just sit there and just think that God tells me this, but you're not submitted to anybody, you're not, like, accountability or reaching out to anybody, like, this is what kind of happens, is you kind of go on these, like, Lulu quests.
Yeah, yeah.
Lulu quest.
So then she mentioned that her soon-to-be ex-husband has a pretty good job, and he's making, like, $50,000 a year. And so then, I never mentioned this to her, but I started getting the feeling that, like...
Where's your child support at?
Well, outside of that, you start to learn maybe why he's leaving her. Because if she is constantly driving into these treacherous situations.
Or wanting to stay in those treacherous situations.
Right.
I had a friend, you and I know him really well. After the show, I'll tell you who it was. But, he was having some trouble with a girl he was with. And everything was going, like, extremely well. And it was almost like he was self-sabotaging.
Yeah.
Okay, and he's from a broken home. I'm from a broken home. My dad's been married, I know 3 times, maybe 4. The last one he may have married twice. I'm not 100% sure.
Right.
Okay, but when you're a child and you're in, bad situations or, you are comfortable in those bad situations and those bad times. So when you get older, and things start going well, you almost start to self-sabotage because you're uncomfortable with the success that you're having in your own life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So as those successful things are coming, you almost feel like you don't deserve those things. You feel like you self-sabotage subconsciously because you know that it will make you feel more comfortable because things are a little rocky and have more drama in them. I know there's a bunch of psychological terms for all this stuff, and I'm not a psychiatrist or anything like that, but I mean, I know from personal experience that these things are real.
Right.
And you see them, like people I know very well have done these, and I told this friend of ours, I said, dude, are you sure it's, I mean, we talked about it, and he was like, maybe you're right.
Yeah.
You kind of self-sabotage because you're uncomfortable because you're doing too good.
Yeah.
And I think a lot, maybe that's her situation. And we're really, this show's really about, Mitch was asking me before the show, do you think we're maybe enabling these people?
Well, yeah.
And that girl may be enabling her husband, or
vice versa. Maybe her husband left because he was enabling her.
Exactly. And I kind of feel like that's where, the show was going when we were doing pre-show prep was, people don't realize a lot of times that just a little bit, enabling gets thrown around a lot. Just allowing someone to enable you a little bit, or you enabling someone a little bit, can have a drastic effect on their life.
Yeah.
And the decisions that they make.
Yeah. Yeah.
We both, you and I know tons of people that it's an issue for.
Yeah.
I can't, we talked about this a couple of weeks ago. I'm always going to be an alcoholic. There's nothing I can do.
Yep.
And then parents or friends are like, "Oh no, you're fine, dude. No, don't worry about it. Let's go out tonight."
Right.
Or hey, here's a beer. It's a huge problem in our culture today.
It is. And it's like there's a double side to that coin. For one, people
Did you see what I did?
Hey, you forgot to start it.
Yeah, I know.
But Austin can tell us how long we've been filming. So
we're at 17:43.
Looky there.
Well, that's also the sorry to interrupt you, Mitch, but like the accountability part is like people sometimes feel like they have to make all these changes themselves. Like, hey, if you're the guy that struggles with like pornography, like find someone who you know and trust and can say, hey, they have software where it can actually send someone a message if someone's logged on to a certain site.
Right.
And so no one has these.
That easy.
And so like he said is like, having accountability, like whether it's a pastor or whoever, or just in general. Cause like for me, I'm like, hey, I'm feeling this. Should we text my pastor or my friend? Like, hey, it's like, is this
right? Kind
of whatever.
Well, and ultimately, kind of like what we mentioned it on the previous show that we were just talking about, people resign themselves to, I'm a recovering alcoholic, instead of former alcoholic, right? They establish themselves into the recovering side of things. And there's
instead of just letting it go and don't even bring it up anymore.
Right.
It's like they're holding on to it.
Yeah.
As either a crutch, or I want pity, or that's going to define who I am.
Exactly. I don't think it's a crutch or pity. It's
it could
they're
be any
literally
of those things. It could be any of them.
They're allowing that to shape their identity. They're allowing whatever struggle it is to shape their identity. And so after we left, so I left that call, I wasn't able to do anything at that call.
Yeah, but the whole time you're feeling...
it was just a weird thing. Like
you wanted to help her.
I wanted to help her, and I was helping her in the best way that I knew how, right? So I told her the story about the person that gets caught in the flood. And I don't know if we've mentioned this on the show or not. You've probably heard this story before. I was amazed she had never heard this story. And so the story goes that the weatherman says, you need to evacuate the low-lying areas. We have big rains coming. And the lady that lives in this low-lying house, she says, my God will protect me. I'm good. Well, then the rains actually come, and the river starts rising, and the cops drive by, and they say, you need to evacuate the area, the river's rising. And she says, I'm going to stay here, I'm protected by God. So then the river comes up to her doorstep, and like her house is completely surrounded by water, and some guy comes by on a John boat, and he's hollering into her house like, hey, you need to get in my boat to safety. And she says, my Lord will protect me. I'm good. Well, then the floodwaters get up so high that now she's had to retreat to her roof. And she's sitting on her roof, and a helicopter comes overhead and drops the little basket down and says, you need to get in the basket. And she says, no, I'm good. My God will protect me. Well, she drowns. And so now she's standing at the pearly gates, and she's like, Lord, what's up? I thought you were going to protect me. And he's like, what the heck else was I supposed to do? I gave you a weatherman, a police officer, a guy on a boat, and a helicopter. What more do you want from me, right?
Yeah.
So I think the thing that distracted me the most with this first lady was she kept trying to funnel everything under this calling for God, as if God's going to like magically, like she's going to open her eyes one day and her house is going to be fixed.
You have to work like it depends on you and pray like it depends on God, is the saying.
Yeah. Well, she wasn't doing any of that. She was just thinking that money's going to magically appear in her bank account, or her husband is magically going to start loving her again, or the house is magically going to get fixed, or the landlord's magically going to start making repairs on this house. And it's like, no. And I got a feeling right now I'm the guy in the boat, and the cop, and the weatherman, and the guy flying the helicopter.
You're just one of those guys.
Well, right.
So her husband is like the weatherman.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're the guy in the John boat.
Right.
And the next guy is going to be someone from the city that's like, hey, we have to condemn this house.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Unless this guy does something about it. You know, hopefully eventually she grabs the lifeboat and, you know, gets out of there.
Hopefully. But, yeah, I mean, you still got to put one foot in front of the other, right? Like, you can feel called by God, and God can kind of give you the ideas, but you still got to make it happen.
Yeah, and this is a business show.
It is.
It is. And really where we're going with this is all of these opportunities that are in front of you to start your business or to get out on your own or to take care of your own personal finance, don't just sit around and think it's going to magically happen.
No. It happens with action.
You have to put the work in. Okay? I mean, if you have the opportunities in front of you and you don't take advantage of them, you're basically like this lady. If she thinks that she's really called by God to do that and she doesn't take advantage of what's been put in front of her, that's basically like denying, nope, God, you're an idiot. I'm not taking a hold of that.
Right.
And I'm not trying to be preachy or Christian here, but if your banker comes to you and says, hey, man, we know you started your business. We have this real line of credit that we're willing to offer you, and you don't take it, and then 3 months later you're broke because you're like, I needed the money. There's 1,000 examples of, well, I didn't take that job. I didn't want to bid that job because I don't like a guy that guy knows. And then that work could have ended up being a commercial building on the, plumbing a whole commercial building or getting a whole subdivision. And you can't ignore the things that are given to you.
Yeah.
Or the opportunities that are given to you or that are right in front of your face, and you can't see the forest through the trees because you're just so dead. You have to be aware of what's going on in your life.
Yeah. You
know what I mean? You can't just be so laser focused on one thing that you miss the opportunities that are right in front of your face.
Yeah. Yeah. So the next call that I went to today, it was for a clogged main sewer. And it's probably been clogged for quite some time. I know this because we were their laundry drain. They had rerouted their laundry drain to just dump out in the yard so that they could do laundry without it like flooding their house, right? So I get there and the notes say to text her when I get there. She works from home. She has to like stay on her computer. So I text her.
She's over there moving the mouse while she's talking to you.
Yeah. It's kind of one of those things, right? And so her daughter was supposed to meet me there so that she wouldn't have to step away from her computer, but her daughter wasn't there yet. And so she meets me at the door, and she's super apologetic. She's like, I can't be away from my computer very long. My boss is going to kill me and all this stuff. And the first thought in my mind is, what kind of an a-hole boss do you have that you're working from home, your main sewer is clogged, and you can't even meet the plumber to let them in to get your sewer flowing?
Well, there's a lot of assholes out there.
Like, that's a problem,
I
right?
didn't realize the whole mouse wiggler thing was a thing until I went over to my friend's house, and they have a system where it's like if they don't move their mouse in a certain amount of time, it lets their boss know. And I'm like, that would just drive me insane. Like,
yeah, I'd get a new friggin' job, right?
I wouldn't. I'd just put that thing on one of those little motors.
Yeah.
And so it just goes back and forth this. And
tied to a ceiling fan.
Yeah, and I go get a case of beer and watch some movies and, do whatever I got to do.
So anyway, she lets me in, and the moment the door opens, I'm hit with the, like, horrid stench of, like, ammonia and urine and pet waste, right?
Like, do you mean, like, just she's got 17 cats, or do you mean like there could be 18 ferrets? There's
at least one cat and one dog, but there has been no effort in many years to potty train nor clean up any of it. Oh. So it was like stomped into the ground and never cleaned up. Oh. And I mean, we get into situations like that a lot. It's unique in this case because it's through our Family First program and they're asking for assistance. And it's just one of those triggering things where it's like, are you really helping somebody out if they're refusing to help themselves, right?
Or are you enabling their bad behavior?
Right. And so, like, she gave some story about how her husband left 8 years ago and the house has just gone to crap ever since. And I'm like, this is not, like, gone to crap. This
eight years is a long time.
Like, this is 8 years literally worth of crap. This is 8 years of dog shit sitting on your floor. Like, your husband has nothing to do with cleaning up a pet turd. He's gone,
Yeah.
So the daughter ends up coming home, so she goes back to work.
Does the daughter live there, I guess?
Yeah.
Okay.
Daughter ends up coming home. Which was kind of weird because it was like 1 o'clock in the afternoon and her 16-year-old daughter is home. It wasn't even 1, it was like 12. So I'm like, why aren't you in school? And her 16-year-old daughter she's wearing a midriff shirt and she's got a really cool belly tat all the way across her belly. So it's like...
Well, like, no judgment, but I mean, come on.
No judgment, but... We charge $209 for a mainline auger, and I can only imagine that tat probably cost you $1,000. And so...
It depends on how nice it was.
It kind of makes me feel bad that, like, I'm donating $209 worth of, time, service, skills, expertise, whatever, and, like, you're seeing waste just everywhere. It's just hard to work with there.
No, it's extremely difficult.
Yeah.
It's...
And so, thankfully, I auger the drain. It pops right open. Easy peasy. They're back into business and all of this stuff. Mom never came down to say thanks. Sounds like the boss was, bull in a china shop over here.
Don't fuck up the show, Mitch.
Yeah. So, it sounds like the mom was busy working anyway. But I don't know. 2 of those calls in a row makes you really question, like, okay, here we dedicate the first business day of the month to giving a hand up to members of the community. And there's 2 calls in a row where these people aren't even trying to help themselves in the slightest. It's almost like something's changed with our program that we're doing, because it used to be, like, I can remember one of the cases we did. We got there and the mom needed a new kitchen faucet. The old faucet was, like, so rotted and corroded, like you had to sawzall it off the sink. It was just like crusted on there. And she's a single mom. She has 2 boys. One of them, he was shirtless and very freshly stapled from, like, Adam's apple to belly button, had just had a heart transplant.
Oh.
And it's like, that's where our program is for. Mm-hmm. She's got so many other things on her plate right now. We'll take care of the faucet, right? But
that's So that's the dream scenario of the program.
Right.
But as with all programs, it's just like homeless programs. There are homeless programs, and they're helping people get back on their feet, right? And they're doing the right thing. I mean, the people are doing the right thing. They're getting a job because of it. They're staying in assisted living. They're moving out of assisted living because they got that job. But then there are also people that are still just drunk, sleeping under a bridge. And they come in for the homeless program and get a meal. And they get a change of socks, but then they just go out and they drink that bottle, and then they, sleep under the bridge. That doesn't mean that what you're doing isn't worth it. There is just a percentage of people that will take advantage of it.
Yeah.
And as a business owner, you have to just sack up and deal with it and say, okay, and you don't know that I don't think that you think you didn't make a difference. You may have made a difference in that first lady's life.
Yeah, possibly.
But it doesn't feel like it at the time.
Yeah.
It's just like, I can't remember what philosopher said it. I think it's Maimonides, said the greatest act of kindness is doing something without anyone knowing about it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Sometimes you have to just be able to push through and deal with it and then move on, because the program will affect people that really need it. Yeah. You're not going to end the program because of a couple of dipshits.
No.
And I don't think that that's what you're...
No, yeah, we're not going
to... I don't know. I'm in philosopher mode. I don't know.
Yeah, we've built our business around this program. Like, our mission statement for the company is to service our community so well that we may be able to serve our community in return, right? So,
yeah,
there's, we're going to continue the program. We've had isolated incidences before where it's like, yeah, this person's not really helping themselves, but that's on them. We've had people take advantage of us before where it's like by the time you don't really pick it up before you start working, but by the time you're done working, you're like, you had the money for this, right? But again, I've always defaulted those to, that's on their conscience. They're going to have to answer to that. We were doing the right thing. Right?
Yeah.
So this one was just kind of like 2 in a row where it's like...
It gets to you.
Man, these people are not doing anything to help themselves. Not in the slightest.
Is there even merit to in those situations partner up with a counseling group? To where if you go into a house and it's in light of not making the rules around the exception, but just maybe... improving where there's maybe on some of the exceptions it's there's someone that or just kind of how you power with power dry. It's a counseling group to be hey, I went to this lady's house.
I don't know.
I don't know what the legalities are around that, because I can see him being hey, we had a plumber there, we're reaching out with a counseling group, and her be what?
Yeah, sue your ass.
Yeah. Well, and you don't want to leverage them into, if you want our free plumbing, you're going to have to... It's like a timeshare. You got to listen to a 30-minute pitch from a counselor.
Yeah.
It's never that. Yeah. When the program started out, it was literally just as pure as it could be of let's give back to the community. Surely there's people in the community with necessary plumbing repairs and they just can't afford it.
Yeah, and maybe it's time to start reaching out to... I can't remember what exactly your group is, but maybe it's time to start reaching out to...
high schools,
non-for-profit groups, or other cities, or city councils,
to try to vet them a little better,
or churches, or synagogues, or
we used to do a lot of that. The problem is most of the people that are through those programs and that need assistance, they don't own a home.
Yeah,
they're renting anyway. So they wouldn't.
Yeah,
if they had a plumbing repair need, it wouldn't be on them anyway. So. But yeah, that's a very real struggle that we're dealing with in our business is okay, we're busy as all get out. We still find the time to stick to it and honor our commitments and spend the first day of the month making these repairs, and to have 2 back to back in a row of I don't feel like I did anything here.
Yeah.
You know,
you feel like you're. Yeah. I mean, I get it.
It doesn't. It's not like we were taking advantage of or anything. It's just
you're
like
not.
the whole goal of the program is to help people, and I don't really feel like we helped them. I performed a repair.
You opened that drain.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, I opened the drain, and the other one I gave her, priceless advice.
Lots of Smedley advice.
Well, yeah, priceless advice for, like, you can't even put a price on that, right? But advice for how to get out of this situation, what to do to, provide a better life for your kids, and, all this kind of stuff. And I don't know if she's going to take it. I hope she does.
Her situation is so much just screaming, like, literally just going back to the drawing board. Like, there's so many lessons passed up and missed that, like, it should have just been, like,
I feel like...
So here's the icing on the cake with the first one. She...
Fucking Diaz.
Hey, I'm wearing a shirt.
Are you?
Diaz plumbing shirt.
He sent that Sazerac rye whiskey, and it's...
Yeah.
Out of the bottle, it's...
You're drinking whiskey, I'm drinking water.
He spikes it. It's like a prank to our channel.
Yeah. He roofied you.
That'd be hilarious. Well, not working.
Diaz.
Fucking Diaz.
So kind of the icing on the cake with that first one was she got emotional and she broke down and she started crying. And she said, a person with a bachelor's degree and a master's degree and $120,000 in student loan debt shouldn't be facing these problems.
She had that?
She has all of that.
And $120,000 in debt? Is that what she said?
Yeah. So...
okay. Fucking, you didn't say that before the show.
No, I didn't.
So, she has a master's degree.
She's got a bachelor's and a master's.
And she's selling books at fucking Mardell's, and she only works 2 days a week because that's all she can work.
Yeah.
She should be making $100,000 a year.
Yeah.
So she, obviously, her childhood's fucked up. I've changed everything I've said on the show so far. This broad needs help. Like, she needs help.
It goes back to the drawing board.
It was quite a wormhole.
She needs therapy in a bad way.
Yeah.
I love the ones that are like, this is a completely off fucking topic. I love the ones that, like, you meet them, they're a real estate agent, and they're like, yeah, it is. I'm like, well, what'd you do before this? Oh, I have a master's degree in teaching. I'm like, well, why don't you do it? Because it doesn't pay shit.
Yeah.
Okay,
well,
so you could have just passed your real estate exam and then been on with it. I mean, it's so stupid.
Did she pay for her college, or was like her thing where
she
her
had
$120,000?
She has $120,000 in student loan debt.
Well,
so she's paying for it.
Yeah, she's paying for it now, but maybe it's a situation where she was handed stuff her whole life, and then all of a sudden now her parents are like, we've screwed it up, but then also like, see ya.
I don't know, but. So in talking with her...
You have totally fucked my whole... You just
screwed your whole perspective, right?
You just fucked my whole show up. Cut. Start over.
So in talking with her, she lives like a mile from my first house. And so and one of the things that I was talking to her about was, like, she's dead set on buying this place from the landlord because it's a rent-to-own scenario. And one of the things I kept telling her was, like, your landlord's going to try to sell this for like 8 times what it's worth. Like, this house isn't worth $10,000. Like, it just isn't. It needs to be bulldozed. It's trashed. I'm like, I would find somewhere to rent for a while until you can get your feet under you and then look at buying a house. I said, besides, right now is like the worst time ever to buy a house.
Yeah.
Market's inflated. Like, prices are still inflated. Rates are high. Like,
you wait 6 months, shit's going to be cheap.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I'm like, you got a lot of other priorities you got to be working on first.
I'm finance in Austin.
There you go.
Like, hey, buddy.
So
you want to buy a house or what?
So then she says, no, I'm not renting. Renting is a waste of money. I'm going to own a home. And I'm like, oh, that's funny. You're able to identify now what's a waste of money. That's kind of weird, right?
Ouch.
I mean, I'm not trying to be mean, but I'm like, that's how lily patty she was from jumping on both sides of the fence. Like, she doesn't see this complete waste of money over here, but yet she's above renting because that's quote unquote a waste of money. And I said, let me tell you a story about the first home I ever bought.
Which you should still own right now and be renting it out.
I wish I did.
So first off, that house I had in Blue Springs, like, you wouldn't think that that's a quote-unquote rental house.
Oh, yeah.
I wish I still had that. I was renting that house.
Yep. So I told her,
renting to Austin right now.
I said I bought a 1,400 square foot house. It was 1,400 square feet, including the garage. I paid $97,000 for it. I was 19 when I bought it. And I owned it for 10 years. I sold it when I was 29 years old. I had put all new flooring in it, updated everything, all new plumbing fixtures, new water heater, like everything new. Built a giant 12-foot by 24-foot 2-story barn on the side with gas and electricity and everything.
It's nicer than the fucking house.
Yeah.
Current that house in downtown Blue Springs really had like that tree house.
Yeah, that was nicer than the house in the front yard.
Yeah.
Sorry, sidestep.
So,
back to you, Mitch.
So I tell her, I'm like, 10 years to the day. I bought it on October 1st, and I sold it on October 1st. I literally owned it for 10 years to the day. I said, I sold it for $97,000.
Yeah, I lost 30 grand on that house.
And she's like, well, at least you got out of it what you put into it. And I'm like, no.
I didn't. I had to pay for the maintenance.
I said,
I had to pay for taxes.
Yeah.
I had to pay for interest to borrow
I had to
money.
pay taxes.
I
was paying like $400 a month in interest.
Yeah.
Every month. And then whenever I went to sell it, I had to pay a realtor fee to sell it. I said I lost tens of thousands of dollars on that house.
How much did you owe on that house when you sold it?
Like 70 grand. So
you lived there 10 years and you only paid off 20 grand principal?
Well, I bought it for 97, so I lived there 10 years and I paid off a fifth of the principal. So, at 30-year note, amortization schedule.
Yeah, I get it.
You got it.
I get it, but then I keep thinking of we had to have a Dodge Magnum, and we had to have 2 different crotch rockets.
Yeah.
And we had to have all this different shit. We had to have the building on it. That motherfucker should have been paid the fuck off.
You're right. It absolutely should.
That was a hard lesson to learn, isn't it?
So here I'm telling her this whole story, and you know what she hung up on? She was like, how did you afford to buy a house at 19 years old? I said, well, I was working as a plumber. I was making good money. She goes, how much does a 19-year-old plumber make? I said, about 50 grand. And she lost it. She was like, I've got a bachelor's and a master's and I don't even make 50 grand. And I'm like, well, that's because you're not applying yourself.
Yeah, because you're working at Mardell selling fucking books.
Yeah, you're working 2 days a week as a cashier part-time. Like, you don't need a master's or a bachelor's to do that. Yeah. You don't even need a GED to do that.
Yeah, I am blown away. We talk about this all the time about people just not putting in the effort. It drives me. This is a prime example of it. I didn't go to college. Janine, my wife, didn't even go to community college. She went to a training program for 2 years.
Right.
Her and I are going to make 200 grand this year.
Yeah.
We have no education.
Yeah.
We literally none.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't go to college or anything.
All we've ever done is work hard.
Yeah.
All you have to do is work. This is America.
Yeah.
All you have to do is fucking work hard, and you will make it. And the amount of people, just like I get where Mitch was going with this when we first started talking about it. I think what annoyed him the most, because now it annoys me, is the fact that these people just aren't applying themselves or putting in the hard work to really just take life by the horns and say, okay, I'm going to make something happen here.
Well, and maybe, and again, I'm trying to say this.
God, I'm mad now. I mean, this fucking pisses me off, man.
You're not going to go to her house and be like, hey.
It's one of those, it's I don't know if it's a failure of her or a failure of the system or what, but like, you've got a bachelor's and a master's. You're supposed to be smarter than me. Why am I here doing free plumbing work for you? Well, I don't want to take that tone, but like, ultimately, that's kind of where it is like, I'm not college educated. You're supposed to have all this stuff figured out. Like, that's what you were supposed to pay for. So, if anything, it's an
indictment of the freaking college system.
Yeah,
they didn't teach her, hey, look, you're going to have this degree. You have to go out and apply for jobs and say, hey, I have these degrees.
Yeah.
And these are the jobs I should be doing.
Yeah.
Like, it's so like right now, I'm 41. So, like, my body, I've been working construction for 20 plus years. Like, I can feel it starting to break down.
Yeah.
Like, I'm in pain a lot when I wake up sometimes. Halfway through the day, I'm like, man, I'm on the struggle bus. And I'm thinking now, man, I wish I had a degree where I could go get an easier job and make the same amount of money. And these people literally just take it for granted. And They're not going out there and, if it doesn't just fall into my lap, I'm not going to. Well, what are you fucking doing, people?
Right. And then the lady that was with her started challenging her a little bit on like jobs that she could apply her degree to. And she started coming up with all these excuses. Like basically, I don't know, I can't remember exactly what she said her degree was in, but maybe criminal science or something like that.
First off, you can get a job in policing or anything right now with any type of criminal degree and make 75 not even blinking.
Right.
Starting out.
So then she said, well, I wouldn't be qualified for one of those jobs because how am I going to coach somebody through trauma when I'm going through trauma myself? And I'm like, I can't think of a better coach than somebody who's been through it themselves.
Wow. And that gets back to what we talked about earlier. Someone that needs to be in a state of being pinned down.
Yeah.
Because it just makes them feel more comfortable and they can't deal with being successful.
Yeah. Yeah. They're addicted to the struggle.
I was watching this.
That's a good way to put it. Addicted to the struggle.
I was watching this guy who owns a channel about video editing, and he had someone email him and say, hey, I know editing can be boring and mundane, so reaching out, like saying that we could edit a video for you. We charge $2 per minute of video edited, not like time spent, but like 10-minute long video.
$20.
So this guy went ahead and said, yeah, I'll do it. And at the end of it, he only paid $15. And this guy worked like 2 days, and he said, I could keep using you, but he's like, hey, like, you need to be charging a lot more.
Yeah. So the group that I'm in, Apex, there was a person in that group that's pretty successful, and they were reaching out to have some services performed by somebody else in the group. And so the customer in this case, the more executive level person, they're very well to do. They're very much like a coach and a mentor in the program. Well, the other person that was going to be doing work for them is very new in the program, and so like the rule in the Apex group is like you don't give discounts to anybody. Like
we talk about that on the show all the time.
Right.
You charge what you're going to charge.
You charge what you're going to charge, and so he goes to her and he says, okay, I'm going to charge you X for doing this. And she says, okay. Well, he does all the work and she writes him a check for twice what he quoted. And he's like, I think there was some confusion. This is twice as much as what I quoted you. And she said, yeah, I shopped you around and your price was a third of what everyone else is charging. You're worth it. Charge more. And so she didn't even give him the option. She just paid him double what he was asking because he's leaving 2/3 on the table.
Yeah.
So, and then he got on our group, Facebook group, and he was like, okay, lesson learned, pretty cool, and from that day on, he literally started charging double. And nobody's batting an eye because he's worth it. He's doing really good work.
Do your same bid and then just times 2 at the end.
Yeah.
I see that a lot in the video photography world. I don't know if it's just because of the nature of, maybe it's a lot of insecurity in that nature versus construction, but you'll see people that they'll get taken advantage of because hey, it's come out, they'll try to convince this photographer that all they're doing is just pressing a button, so they want to do a 2-hour shoot for $50 or something, and it's
yeah.
I've heard
you'll see that in all trades.
All trades.
I've heard Austin say that a few times on the show, and I can't help to think it's subconscious. For he is like, "Hey, Mitch, you're getting a discount here.
No.
Is it about time for a raise?"
No, this is just it's people don't realize everything that goes into video and photo, and that was one of the first whenever I started working for Mitch, that was such a relief to hear, for him to say, hey, we may shoot an hour of footage, but only use 5 minutes of it. I'm that's totally what it is, because people think, oh, well, he shot for a couple hours. That means
Yeah.
And
or we may spend all day shooting and be scrap it.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing valuable there.
That's garbage.
Yeah.
Garbage.
And it's nothing that Austin and I did wrong or anything else. It's just the situation didn't present itself to make a good video out of it. So
it's so stupid. It's just exactly so when we used to. So I've played in 3 or 4 different bands,
right?
And so you would. A guy would bring a song in and be like, oh, hey, what do you think about this? Okay, good. And we would work on it for an hour or 2. and then the next practice you'd work on it for an hour, and the next practice you'd work on it for an hour, and then you'd get it polished enough where you could play it, 3 or 4 times. I mean, you've literally spent 12, 14 hours on this song, and okay, now we can play it. We'd play it and then be like, that fucking sucks.
Yep.
Not playing that.
Right.
And then just be like, man, that time is just burned the fuck up. It's gone.
Yeah. It's gone.
Sorry, it's gone.
Yep.
But you don't know that until, and that's, not to be on a side tangent, but that's kind of how the arts, truly are.
Well, and it's the way it is with anything, right? Like, if you're going to be successful in business, you have to be willing to take some risks, some small risks, right? Like you're not going to be able to navigate $1 million problem if you can't navigate $1,000 problem.
Yeah, the number's just bigger.
The number's just bigger.
The percentages are the same, but the numbers are just bigger.
Right. So if you're struggling with how to make a $100 decision right now, don't focus on the decision. Focus on how do I make this decision faster in the future? Because you're going to be blessed with plenty of $100 decisions in the future. So put a process in your head for how do I navigate this? How do I handle this? And then once you learn that, then you'll be able to proceed from there.
Also, a little bit of homework. There's this video I pulled up. I sent Mitch it. It's Mr. Beast, and the title is called Videos I Could Not Upload. And he goes through a compilation of videos where he literally spent tens of thousands of dollars in weeks.
Yeah, he spent $90,000 to shoot this video, and he couldn't use any of it, and he had to throw everything away.
Yeah, so look up that video, watch it, and it gives you a perspective.
Yeah,
on that.
Now, perspective. Mr. Beast is like a billionaire YouTuber, right? He's like literally the most successful YouTuber there is.
Yeah, I've watched a bunch of the videos.
Yep.
I'd say I've watched 10. I don't get it.
Yeah, I
don't fucking get it.
He's catering to a much younger audience, so there's some things to take from it if you're trying to learn.
I'm just old.
It's just like it's very much like if you're just trying to chill and like you pull his channel up, it's like you just can't vibe with it.
I can't take
probably does well with.
You're young.
It probably does well with weeders.
And two things,
just smoke a little dope,
smoke a bowl, and watch some Mr. Beast.
Well,
maybe.
The caveat to that
no judgment. I mean, I'm just not me.
Well, the caveat too is he did eventually the video. That gives you a chance
that he burned it up. He put that. So he put a video out there about the videos that he burned up,
so
and then made
money
on that video.
Right.
So let's call it what it is.
He's kind of looping around into it, but I guarantee that video that he's showing all of his fails on is not performing near as well as some of his other videos.
It was 84 million.
Oh, it had 84 million views?
Shut the fuck up, Mitch.
Dang.
No one's listening to you,
Well,
Mitch.
so his good performing videos have like 220 million views.
Okay, well, 84.
So 87 million.
Yeah.
But the thing is, literally, one of the videos was because he left his camera on the airplane and he couldn't find a camera in Italy, so he just...
You couldn't find a camera in Italy?
I know. I'm just like, what? I mean,
fuck off.
You're in Europe, which is like the godsend of like everything artistic is going on over there.
Yeah, I don't buy it.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why I don't like the show, because I think it's just a bunch of bullshit.
Who knows?
Who knows?
One of them was really funny. They did like dominoes. Like he's like, we did all this work, and he's like, I just realized that it's so boring to watch dominoes fall.
He was trying to do like the world record longest domino train.
Yeah, and after about 30 seconds, you're like...
After 14 dominoes hit each other, you're like, well, this is boring.
Yeah,
So,
I don't get it.
Yeah, it's about like setting the world record in an EV. It's pretty fucking boring.
Yeah, it's like watching... you know what it is? It's like watching a nerd drive an EV. That's the fuck what it is.
That has made me such a good editor and challenging. It's like, if I can make plumbing look good...
If I can make Mitch not look like a nerd... I've done my job.
Yeah, he might have his work cut out for him there. He can make me look entertaining, but not like a nerd. So
no,
too nerdy.
That's okay.
So
well, hey, we all have our roles, man.
Hey,
I'm not Matthew Perry. I know it.
Last night was Halloween. How'd you fare?
Did you shoot anybody?
So
I don't know why I asked.
Shoot anybody?
So this spilled out of my mouth. It's just Red Bull.
This Marlin lever action really does kill a T-Rex. I don't know why they dropped the bucket of candy, though.
Yeah.
I shot the werewolf and it turned back into my neighbor's dog.
So we don't live in a neighborhood.
Right.
I have 3 neighbors, so no one trick-or-treats our house. And usually I go with Layla. But this
usually
year,
bring Layla to my neighborhood.
Well... Actually, so the last 2 years, we've gone... So you know the neighborhood by Lead Bank? Mm-hmm. That's where we go.
Yeah.
There are more kids in that neighborhood than I've ever seen in my life. It's insane.
Yeah.
So we usually take her there and we go with her together.
Yeah.
Well, so she's 9 now, so she wants to go with her friends.
Oh yeah.
But I won't let her go like without one of us. So Janine went and met like one of the other girls, and they went out. And she fills a huge like gunny sack in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And then goes to the car and dumps it out. And then I ate so much chocolate today at lunch, I thought I was going to throw up. I was like, I can't.
Dad tax.
Yeah. So she did good. And she doesn't like a lot of the like traditional candies. Like she doesn't like Reese's or Kit Kats. So I'm like stocked the fuck up.
Yeah. That's good. It's time to teach the kids about the IRS. 30% of that goes to me.
Dad tax.
Anything sitting over a month, anything left in that bucket after the first of the year,
did you see
another
that?
5% tax on that.
How'd the boys do? They go out last night?
Mason's too cool for Halloween. He didn't even carve a pumpkin.
Is he 13 now?
Yep. He's 13 and he's an inch shy from me. Yeah. I'm 6'1".
He's a beast.
And he's like 5'11" and a half.
First off, I'm not going to say a beast because he's a scrawny-ass tall kid.
No, he's the most uncoordinated kid you've ever met in your life.
He's pretty lanky. He's like 120 pounds of Vienna sausages. I mean, he's just...
Yeah, he's just tall.
Yeah.
On the taxi.
So he didn't even like go out. Do you remember what we used to do when we were like 13, 14?
We would map out and like, we're going to hit this side of the street on the way out. We're going to hit this side of the street on the way back. Like, we're not wasting time crossing the street.
We'd go to Mitch's, we'd dump out our candy, and then we'd go back out with a pillowcase. Yeah. And we'd just fill that pillowcase.
Pillowcase over and over and over.
I mean, that's at like 13 and 14, and Mason, he doesn't even want to go?
No.
Do you think he's going to be a homebody?
Yeah,
like
he's pretty quiet and reserved. Yep, he'll be a homebody.
Grant's going to be the troublemaker.
Mason's dream is literally to buy the house like next door across the street.
So mom can cook him dinner still?
No, he just, I don't know. Grant will disappear. Grant will just like all of a sudden disappear, and we don't hear from him for 3 days, and it'll be like, hey, where are you at? Oh, I moved to Colorado. Like I'm just resigned to that's going to be what happens with Grant. Mason's going to like live next door.
Those two boys are funny. They're complete opposites.
Yeah, they're polar opposites.
On the text thing, you see that video on social media where this kid gets in the car with his dad after he gets his first paycheck. He's like, "How's your paycheck, son?" And you see him go like this. He just can't comprehend.
Can't comprehend taxes? Yeah.
Who's FICA and why are they taking all my money? What the fuck?
You can tell the dad was like seeing it. He's like, "You excited?" And he's like...
Yeah.
He's looking at it and he's like, okay, so this number says 800, but then the amount I get is 450. I don't understand.
I don't get it.
The greatest scam in American history is when they were like, the IRS came out and said, okay, we're just going to take your taxes out of your check to save you from having to come in. Like if you had to go every month and be like, okay, I've got to write this check or give $100, people would kill those motherfuckers. Yeah. There'd be pitchforks, rifles. I mean, people would be like, no, you're not. We're paying house members $175. I don't think so.
Right.
I think they're making $50 if they want to keep breathing.
Right.
Like that's a whole nother, you know what, next show? That's what we should talk about next show. Oh, it makes me so mad.
The reality is like when you sit down and you just like read over like the lease. Like whatever you're on like apartment, you're like realizing all the crazy stuff that's like.
Oh yeah.
We can't have like a certain type of dog in our apartment. We didn't realize that. Like no German shepherds, no this, no bulldogs, no pits, and I'm just like.
Well, it doesn't matter. Your dog pees on the neighbor through the deck anyway.
Yeah. They won't fix our AC for a year, but they're gonna get us for a dog peeing on the porch.
Yeah.
It's like they're so quick to put a violation of lease on our door, but they're gonna. Miss our phone call for whatever.
That's right.
So you want to hear a funny story about Grant before we wrap up?
Yeah, let's hear something. So
funny. Last week,
it's kind of this episode started out good and then it pissed me off. And now we're back to good again.
So last week we get a message from the school that Grant's been in trouble, right? And it's not one of those messages where like they call you. It's just like, got trouble, right? So he comes home and we're like, hey Grant, what happened? He's like, I'm in detention for 3 days or whatever. I'm like, what'd you do? I called somebody a dumbass.
Are they a dumbass?
And so Danielle's like, well, Grant, you can't be saying that and everything else. And I'm like, well, hold on. Were they being a dumbass? He's like, yeah. Well, okay.
Was it a teacher?
And Grant's like all definitive.
You can't call the teacher a dumbass.
So Grant's like all definitive. And I'm like, Grant, you know the rule. we don't punish you at home for crap you do at school, just like school's not going to punish you at school for crap you do at home. If you broke the rules at school, you're going to have to suffer your punishment at school, but you're not in trouble here.
Yeah,
like
that's how it was for me. Like,
it is what it is.
I don't think that's right. I would fucking ground his ass at home, too.
Here's the full circle.
What the fuck are you doing, bro?
Here's the full circle of the thing. 3 days later, parent-teacher conferences. Okay? I'm busy doing a work thing, so Danielle went by herself.
Oh, that's not good. First off, Danielle cannot be unsupervised outside of the house for more than fucking 10 minutes at a time. That bitch is fucking crazy.
Yeah, well, thankfully, she is in love with Grant's teacher. Like, he's just the coolest guy ever, right? Former baseball player,
she wants to bang him.
No. He's just got a really level head.
You sure?
Well, you're right. I don't know. But anyway.
You're right. I don't know.
So, Danielle's like, all right, what's up with this whole detention thing and Grant calling somebody a dumbass? And the teacher's exact words were, well, the kid was kind of being a dumbass. And I'm like, exactly. You can't get the kid in trouble for that. And here's the BS thing about it. He's 1 year away from middle school. In middle school, you can call somebody a dumbass all you want and you're not going to get in trouble for it.
You think?
Yeah. No, I know. Like, hearing the stories that Mason comes up with, like, oh my gosh. Middle school's ruthless.
It's a train wreck. I'm scared to death.
You got all them hormones coming together and kids trying to figure out what all that is.
Death to send Layla to school.
They have bigger things to worry about in middle school other than cussing. They got to worry about kids running off and sleeping around and stuff.
Well, so in Mason's middle school, they eliminated the dress code. There is no dress code. None. Girls can wear whatever they want. There's kids that walk around in furry outfits.
I just had a flashback of 8th grade, and it wasn't good.
No. Jinko jeans, skater shoes. Yeah, no, it was not good, right?
My parents were the same way when it came to, like,
if I got short skirts and...
Like, if I got a ticket for speeding, I didn't get in trouble when I got home because my parents speed too. They were just like, they weren't going to be the parents that, like, were just like, well, there should be another...
I'm taking your keys away.
Yeah.
Like, no, you got to pay for that. Yeah. Now you got to work harder. Like, it's just is what it is.
They were kind of almost like my cohorts when I came to this stuff because they know that they speed too. So it's like, we can't get you in trouble.
Well, we're asshats too, so I can't get you in trouble for being an asshat.
Yeah. I mean...
Right?
Well, they do it too.
We've talked about it before. I'm kind of raising our kids to be like more like life rather than parents. So when they do something that gets them in trouble, I'm like there was a time where Grant had somebody knocking on our door because he had pissed off one of the neighbors. And Grant's like expecting me to go to his defense, and I'm like, Grant, why are we being an asshole? Like, I'm going to make it super uncomfortable for you because you earned it, right?
Yeah.
Whatever you were doing, you earned it.
You sit him inside and you look at the dad and be like, dude, don't make me fuck you up out here in the yard. All right? I mean, just come on. Stop being a douche. Like, I got it. Okay.
So... Well, that about wraps it up for this show.
It should.
This was kind of an odd show.
It wasn't. It was fine.
It was not our normal format, that's for sure.
So we talked a whole hour about that one Family First call.
Yeah.
Nah.
So,
not long.
guys, if you liked what you saw on the show or liked what you heard or whatever, do us a favor, give this show a like or a thumbs up or a 5-star review or whatever is a good thing on whatever platform you're listening on. And until next time, guys, we will see you later.
Love you guys. You're the best.
See ya.